Halloween close at hand, now is the perfect time to terrify your D&D party. With that being said, here are 3 super easy steps to turn Oogie Boogie into a frightening foe for your Halloween one-shot. Also, really quick, if the idea of experiencing your favorite movies, video games, or anime as a D&D adventure sounds fun to you, be sure to slap that like button and subscribe if you're not already, because that's exactly what we do here on this channel. But with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into today's adventure. So, step 1. In order to make Oogie Boogie feel like an actual unique boss fight that will be memorable to your players and not just feel like a generic enemy reskin, it's important that we identify some of the key points that makes him both a unique character as well as a fun enemy. First one of those is the fact that this guy has a crippling gambling addiction. Even in the movie The Night Before Christmas, when he's singing his song, Oogie Boogie mentions that the sound of dice is like music to his ears, and despite the fact that Oogie Boogie is basically a sadistic monster, he's taken the time to specifically theme his torture chamber to look like a Vegas casino. The second part of this is that even though he likes the thrill of gambling, he doesn't like to lose and will often bend the rules a little bit in order to get his way. So with that being said, aside from gambling being put somehow in his boss fight, it's also important that we tie in that he will cheat in some way or another in order to get his way and turn the odds in his favor. And lastly, physically speaking, Oogie Boogie is...
He's ancient. He's ugly. I don't know which is worse.
Or wait, maybe, I think he was talking about Santa Claus actually at that point. But honestly, it still applies to him. Even though Oogie Boogie appears to be made out of sackcloth, he's actually, spoiler alert, made entirely of an amalgamation of bugs. So with that, we've identified a couple of things that make Oogie Boogie so unique, and it's important that we incorporate that into his boss fight, and I think we're ultimately ready to go. But there's one thing that we're forgetting. No boss is complete without his lackeys, and I have the perfect person for the job. Or persons, specifically the troublesome trio, Lock, Shock, and Barrel, proclaimed as Halloween Town's finest trick-or-treaters, and henchmen to the boogeyman himself. But I know what you're probably thinking, you're like, oh, wait, these are children here, we can't hurt them. Right? Now you're thinking video games, and this is D&D. Honestly, you can beat up as many children as you possibly want.
Please make sure it's okay with everyone at your table first.
Now in the movie, these 3 don't really fight in any type of combat whatsoever. And the only time that I can really recall ever seeing them in a fight is in the Kingdom Hearts games, and even then it's sort of weird because they're not directly fighting you, instead they have like this strange robot. So unless you're gonna give them a mech and have them pilot it Pacific Rim / Darling in the Franxx style, I suggest let's keep things a little bit more grounded. So instead of having these kids be a full fight individually, we're gonna have them added on to Oogie Boogie's fight and make things a little bit more interesting, both from an action economy standpoint, as well as honestly being huge annoyances in the fight. And with that, it is time to break down the final fight. And this is honestly the most crucial part of it all. Just like in the movie, Oogie Boogie doesn't really do any type of physical fighting. I think maybe at one point he like slaps the hell out of somebody, but I could be just remembering that wrong. That's why it is absolutely crucial that you find some way to trap your players into Oogie Boogie's death arena, keeping them all in dangerously close proximity to the overall battle, and any attacks that Oogie Boogie might want to throw at them during the mayhem of the fight. So, for the first phase of the battle, after you and your party are trapped in Oogie Boogie's death arena, you will be going up against Oogie Boogie in addition to the terrible trio, Lock, Shock, and Barrel. Now, the whole point of Lock, Shock, and Barrel is that they're not very strong and instead are meant to harass you and your party by either restraining you, capturing you, having you spend actions to deal with them, and these aid Oogie Boogie by making every single one of his attacks absolutely ruthless against your characters. So to do this, we're going to have the trio all move separately. In addition to that, they're going to have these 3 Ds, dodge, dash, and disengage, making them incredibly difficult to hit, and they're going to have the ability to restrain you, or maybe if they want to do some damage, a couple of stabs here and there. Now you and your players can't simply get tunnel vision on the main boss Oogie Boogie, and instead have to deal with these 3, otherwise you're going to have a bad time. And speaking of Oogie Boogie and a bad time, this is what he can do. Just like we said before, he has a bit of a gambling addiction, and in true gambler fashion, Oogie Boogie has no control over his actual attacks, and instead is going to have them all be entirely randomized with 2d6s. Every single one of his turns, he's able to roll these 2 die, and based off of a table, he then does whatever the number corresponds to. So, for example, from things that we've seen him do in his movies, number 1 would be things like 3 gunshots. If you roll a 2, anybody within a 5-foot radius of Oogie Boogie is attacked with multiple sword attacks. Number 3 would be a laser that shoots out from Oogie Boogie's position in a 15-foot cone, causing fire damage. Think something like Burning Hands, but maybe with a little bit more oomph. Rolling a 4 will cause a saw to come zooming through the field and give slashing damage to any enemy in that line for 15 feet. By rolling a 5, we can finally incorporate the fact that he, 1, is absolutely terrifying, but also is made entirely of bugs, revealing his true face and casting Death Gaze on anybody within the range. And if he gets the highest roll possible with a 6, Oogie Boogie is granted an additional die and able to roll again for a total of 3 attacks per turn. But even without that, he'll still be doing 2 of these attacks to your team every single turn, and that is absolutely terrifying because the damage can really add up, especially when you've got Lock, Shock, and Barrel still on the combat field restraining your players left and right. So going back to those key characteristics, we've got gambling addictions, being made out of bugs, but we're missing one thing that we had talked about before, and that's cheating. Now, to give Oogie Boogie the sort of meta chance to cheat outside of the battle, we're going to actually give him 2 abilities, each affecting different things. The first one is going to be the Luck Feat, allowing him to re-roll any of the 2d6s that he had just done in the event that he doesn't actually like the outcome of what he got. And his other method of cheating is going to be able to actually affect the dice rolls against him, giving him the level 6 Grave Cleric ability, Sentinel at Death's Door, allowing him to negate any natural 20 that's rolled against him. So not only now does Oogie Boogie have the chance to do crazy amounts of damage, but he also has the ability to alter his own rolls or rolls done against him. And with that, you and your party are officially ready to get absolutely obliterated by Oogie Boogie in his death arena and hopefully come out victorious in the end of it all. I hope you and your party have a blast going as Oogie Boogie in this Halloween boss fight, and if you have a character that you want me to cover next, leave it in the comments down below. Also, if you want a way to incorporate Oogie Boogie storyline-wise into a one-shot, be sure to check out this video. But with that being said, have fun, and until later, keep questing.